My name is Linda. Growing up with my family, we didn't go to church on any kind of regular basis. We didn't read the Bible. We never talked about God or Jesus or really anything spiritual whatsoever. My mother divorced my biological father when my sister and I were very young. I was 2, she was 3. Our mother, unfortunately, unknowingly, remarried a predatory pedophile. They had my brother, and off we went into life together. Now, for some reason, my mom, she just didn't like me. She liked my sister and brother, but something about me set her off. I was scared to death of her. Her hatred and treatment of me towards me set me up to be my stepfather's favorite target. He abused all 3 of us kids, but I was the main one. It was a regular, daily problem for me. The sexual abuse I endured at the hand of the enemy through my stepfather started about 3 or 4 years old and continued to about 16 years old. The emotional and physical abuse I endured at the hand of the enemy through my mother started at birth and continued until I left home at 16. The abandonment and disregard I endured at the hand of the enemy through my biological father, who I didn't even know existed until I was 9 or 10 years old, still remains really until this day. I was left feeling useless, unloved, and unlovable.
You've taken my pain. You've taken my pain. And you've called me by a new name.
When I turned 12 or 13, I started running away, and I got really good at that. But every time they caught me, everything became way worse. Now, God was nowhere to be found during all this. I was furious with him if he even existed. I thought it was just a fantasy, just a story for other people. And this was my life until I left home at 16. I dropped out of school. I spent the years seeking out and participating in violent, destructive relationships with men due to my shame-based nature. So as a child and now as an adult, running away became the theme of my life. But when I had my daughter, I knew I had to make a big change. Running away for the last time from certain death for my child and myself, this is how I came here to this area. Then I married someone who seemed to be a good person, but he turned out to be just the same as anyone I had chosen before. I was with him for about 17 years. On Good Friday of last year, I was diagnosed with cancer. I'm sitting at my desk, at my job, all alone in the building. A nurse gets on the phone and says, "You have cancer." And as soon as she said, "You have cancer," in one ear, in my other ear, I heard an audible voice that said, "I will never leave you or forsake you." And it was loud, and it was an actual voice. So I swung my head to my right to see who had said that. As this lady babbled on in my left ear about what needed to be done, I focused on what I was hearing on the other side of my body. And certainly I was in shock from hearing the diagnosis, but the voice that I heard out loud was now inside my head, saying words from the Bible. I felt a strong presence next to me all that day, and I was totally preoccupied with the words in my head. I heard, "Never let your heart be troubled, nor let it be afraid." I heard, "You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. My grace is sufficient for you, and you will live through this."
You take my mourning, turn it into dancing. You take my sadness, turn it in, and you bring it.
I went home that night, and I picked up my mother's Bible, randomly opening it. And it opened to a page in Hebrews, and after reading for a bit, I saw, "For he has said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee." And this seemed to confirm for me that the voice I heard was God. I didn't tell anyone about my experience. Now, according to my doctors, I am completely healed from the cancer. And aside from the surgeries and the chemotherapy, the fact that God reached out to me to develop my faith prior to this medical situation is what really saved me. He's continued to reach out to me through all my stubbornness, my disbelief, and my stupidity. And just recently, I found a great Bible-based church, and I was even baptized this summer. I will spend the rest of my life listening for the sound of God's voice, whether it is in the scriptures or in my heart. And I tell this story to honor him and to tell anyone who cares to listen that I believe God speaks to all of us all the time.